The Chargers lost to the Raiders in a brutal and embarrassing way at Qualcomm Stadium on Sunday, and on Monday we heard from head coach Mike McCoy and several players. Here are 3 things you need to know. If you're a Chargers fan, everything about that Chargers-Raiders game stunk. The Chargers were outperformed in every area: offense, defense, special teams, ferociousness, energy. The Raiders brought more of all of that. The defense allowed the Raiders to score on 7 straight possessions. The offense couldn't get a touchdown until the 4th quarter. Speaking of the offense, the Chargers lead the league. They are tops in the NFL in total offense. But it's a deceiving stat because in scoring offense or points per game, they're 13th, which tells you, yes, they're having trouble getting into the end zone and getting points on the board. A lot of those points are coming late in the game or in the 4th quarter when the Chargers are so far behind, it's a little too late. In the first half of games, the Chargers are being outscored 108-59. 108-59. They're having trouble getting off the ground. They're having trouble with those slow starts. Now, some of that is due to penalties. It seems like every time they get a good drive going, they get killed by 1 penalty or 7 penalties. Head coach Mike McCoy talked Monday about needing to mitigate those slow starts and finding a way to mitigate those slow starts. Look, you're 7 games in. You would have hoped that they would have found a way already. What more can Mike McCoy say, though?
We got to find a way as a team in all 3 phases to play better as one, and feed off of one early in games. That starts with me as a head coach.
One of the mysteries still surrounding this Chargers team, and something that's been hard for them to find, is their run game. Yes, that's been affected by the hobbled offensive line and also the fact that these Chargers are playing from behind in most games. So, of course, that affects the run game. But it's hard to think that this team could have a chance if they can't get more of a balanced attack. And it was such an emphasis for them this offseason. So much so that they drafted a running back. They moved up to get a running back in the 1st round. Now, last season, the Chargers averaged 3.4 yards per carry. They were 3rd worst in the rushing game in the NFL. This season, through 7 games, they are still in the bottom 5. They're averaging 3.7 yards per carry. And they've got a 1st-round running back who sat for 4 quarters of the last 2 games. It's been frustrating, and after the game, Melvin Gordon talked about what it was like to watch the game when he really wanted to be out there helping his team.
I hate watching. I hate watching, and it don't sit well with me watching. My teammates try to go out there and make plays, and I'm on the sideline looking helpless when I know I could help. Change things out there.
Tight end Antonio Gates talked Monday about staying the course. He said that's a phrase that's been floating around the facility and being talked about and used among players as staying the course. They can't let themselves get too low. They've got a season to finish out. It's not like they're abandoning the season tomorrow, so they don't want to get too low. They just want to stay the course, do what they're committed to doing, and just find a way to get some wins in these games. Now, Gates didn't play Sunday. He tested his knee on Saturday. He felt like he might be a liability to the team. He's dealing with an MCL tear, and it affects his lateral movement, and lateral movement is so much of his game, and he knows that, so he didn't want to be able to go out there and not give 100% and use what is such a big part of how he makes plays on the field. Seems like he might be out for at least another week, maybe another week or 2, as he tries to navigate this injury and not make it worse. Here's an interesting note about Gates. He doesn't use an MRI to tell him things about his body. He didn't even get an MRI done. The doctors wanted him to get one done. The trainers wanted him to get one done. But he'd prefer not to have one done. He doesn't like people telling him how long it will take to recover or people getting into his head about what it takes to recover from a certain injury. He just wants to listen to his body. It tells you how mentally sound he is and how much he is in tune with his body. He's so old school in that approach, where other guys might depend on test results or MRIs or scans. Gates just wants to depend on what he feels and how he feels when he tests that body of his. Here's more from Antonio Gates.
One thing I've learned is that when you play, you have to feel like you can make a difference or contribute at some point. Sometimes you get out there and you actually hurt the team, and that's just something I refuse to do. And the knowledge that I understand about my body and things I know, and it was difficult what I was dealing with and how I play and how I move. And hopefully this week it's gotten a lot better, and just see how it goes. It's kind of like day to day with me. I'm doing everything, knowing the man to go out and play. Can't tell you how frustrating it is to be out after sitting out for 4 weeks and then coming back and having to deal with something like this that's lingering.